I'm not saying an individual player because I think it's crazy to blame the whole series on one specific player.
Definitely.
We've talked about the 10 years. Like you had Keefe, you had Dubas,
Babcock.
now you got Berube, you got Babcock, you got defense, you got no defense. You have goalies, you got no goalies. You got secondary pieces.
You got forward depth, yeah.
What has been the constant? It's not difficult. Unfortunately, the core four of the group can't get it done. We've said it time and time again. I hate repeating myself. There's not a dog mentality in some capacity. I'm not going to say all four. I'm not going to say one doesn't have the dog. We can divide them and conquer on all four and discuss, but clearly the mesh, and money aside, obviously the money plays a factor because you don't have it, and obviously the salary cap goes up, which makes me a little bit nervous because the salary cap going up then justifies, oh, maybe we could sneak in these contracts. No, okay? But point being, it's those four. And I don't know if you guys have thoughts as to more blame on one of the four or two or three, but it really is just what's been the constant this whole time.
Let's throw in a fifth guy, though. There is another guy who's been here the full 10 years.
That's fair.
He doesn't play for the team, but it is Brendan Shanahan. Because I think
fair enough.
you want to talk
you're
about
going to go Morgan.
Yeah,
you're going to go Morgan Riley.
We can go there.
Course
Sorry for the curveball, fellas, but
it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the guy who's maintained this through and through. Like once upon a time, after the Leafs lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning, after the Leafs lost to the Florida Panthers, the 1.0 version 2 years ago, Cal Dubas said, we got to look like really hard at this core and see what's going on. Might have to make some changes. And the next day he was fired, or he was let go. It's a Brendan Shanahan decision. It finally felt like all the tea leaves read that Cal Dubas was going to trade someone from the core four. He had reached his wit's end. Brendan Shanahan said, you're not, and I'm calling them all to tell them that they're staying.
Yeah.
That's what Brendan Shanahan did. He then brings in Brad Treliving, and I mean, can we really blame Brad for wanting to be here for a year to see it for himself? It would have been crazy in his first month and a half as GM to try and trade Mitch Marner without having seen him play a game or just got to interact with the person that he is. And then you can say the same for Craig Berube. He needs to be here for a year to kind of see, like, Brendan Shanahan extended this, like, beyond its expiry date, I guess, in a sense. He kind of needed to overrule Brad and maybe say, listen, I've been here this long. Here's why you need to do it. But we know that it was never his intentions. He wanted to keep this till the end. I would also go as far as saying that some of the mentality that we've seen out of the core four, and honestly, I am willing to narrow in on 16 and 34 on this one.
Right.
The mentality to me is as much nature as it is nurture from Brendan Shanahan. I think that the idea of downplaying things and being very hesitant with your quotes so that they don't make waves is a Brendan Shanahan nurtured decision. Maybe not directly from his mouth, but from him to his staff,
the
next person. The brain trust. Yeah, like the people, the architects of the Shanaplan believe that this was the best way to instill a culture with 16 and 34. And it's come back to bite them horrifically. I think Willie, we've seen kind of internalize his own way to deal with it. Berube acknowledges that as much. I don't talk to him. He does his thing, and we're happy with it. John Tavares, I don't think we can't question his passion at this point. Maybe he's like implicit in this because he was once upon a time a captain and didn't maybe push for change. So if you want to go that far, but I do think that those two, it was instilled in them as much as it's within them. Because I think if you're taking out your crystal ball here and saying, if Austin Matthews wasn't a Toronto Maple Leaf, if he was drafted, let's flip 1 and 2. Let's say Austin Matthews was a Winnipeg Jet. I don't know if we're having this conversation. If Mitch Marner was drafted by whoever, like, it doesn't matter. I think Carolina. I don't know how far we're going with this conversation because I think what the organization that drafted them would have instilled in them would have been different than what Toronto taught them. I really think they're part of this blame. I think you cannot just say it is Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews' fault. It is those two players plus the combination of the Toronto Maple Leafs culture. That combination doesn't work. Who would doubt Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner's talent in the Boston Bruins culture from when they got drafted? Nobody. No one. It's nature and nurture. It's both. It's both.
It's frankly, I might have said this before, but it is frankly downright ridiculous that your team president is Brendan Shanahan, somebody who's scored over 600 NHL goals, has won multiple Stanley Cups. But what was he best known for when he was a player?
It's Mando said, the dog mentality. Like, it was dog
being an asshole.
Through.
That's what he was. He was the prime asshole on all the teams that he was on. And guess what this team isn't? Assholes. They're actually assholes to everybody else. They're assholes to their own fan base. Yeah, it's frankly, it's scary how stark a difference in the way that he played and the way that he's built this team and how they look.
What's crazy too is that he remember. I don't remember what year it was, what off season it was. It might have even been in the middle of a season where he explicitly referenced his core in Detroit, and like he compared them and said like it took like them you needed to have, it was the like the killer instinct thing, and just about like all those guys in Detroit like needing to be like that. And he basically like called out his core for like needing to learn that. So it's not like that's the thing too. It's not like he doesn't know. He isn't totally oblivious. Like you said,
it took them a few years to get to where they are, but they learned. You have nothing to teach these guys? Nothing? No experience, no wisdom to share? It was only 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
It'll be very interesting to hear what he's got to say. Like, whenever this is done, if he ever speaks on this in a book or like, I don't know, whenever.
Somebody give me a tell-all. I want a Kyle Dubas tell-all. That's what I want.
Sure, definitely. But like, I would love to know kind of how he built his own philosophy as an executive. How did his, like you're saying, Dave, like how did his playing days influence his philosophy as a team president?
The guy acts
they at all like they had to. The guy can't separate that.
Clark Kent. He used to be Superman on the ice. He was quite literally like dragging teams through the playoffs, and now he looks like a dork. Every time I see him, he's buttoned up. He went for a 10. He's this, he's that. He's like, he's fixing his tie and he's giving us PR generated answers. He looks like a dork. That's what he looks like.
It's interesting because like Barry Zito on the other side looked like he's in oh my god, what's the show?
Well, he looked like Bill Zito looked like a Barry. Yeah, he looked like a Barry for real, man.
He looked like
he was in Miami Vice.
He was also the other thing too is think about like where Bill Zito like how did he end up in Florida? He was in Columbus, kind of unheralded, really, when you think about it. Brendan Shanahan was not unheralded. He came from Department of Player Safety. Like, it was just, let's maybe turn. I don't know if you have other Brendan Shanahan thoughts, but like
the only thing I had was it's interesting when you look at. No, you're fine. These the players that on the ice seem to be the most talented. It's not in all situations, but seem to be the most talented. Seem to have things that just natural gifted talent. The Wayne Gretzky's, in some respects, Yzerman, because obviously Yzerman has had success in the Lightning, right? Not so much in Detroit, as we're seeing, and surprisingly so. Joe Sakic, some degree in Colorado. Like, they obviously won a cup, but to some degree, he's had help around him. But a lot of the guys that have just had these natural-born talent, and you could say Shanahan was just a talented guy in general. I don't know if they've been able to construct teams because they don't really know what it takes to actually win when you have to battle through these wars. And Shanahan's not a great example because, like you said, Dave, he's got the background in being an absolute maniac on the ice to some extent. But I wonder if like you need the brass around you that have kind of been through the trenches as players or in some other capacity to be like, we know how to construct a team. Because in some capacity, it's just not – it doesn't seem to have worked out. And you see the Rick Tocchet's that fought for a living, the Craig Berube's that fought for a living. Like, a lot of these guys, Steve Ott even is a great assistant coach. Like, guys like this, you wonder if you have to be one of those – you have to have the mindset as a player that I have to kind of drag my team through the trenches in order to be successful. I don't know if these – I'm not saying spoon-fed by any chance, but, like, you wonder what it takes to kind of build a team if – you've been so successful. In some capacity, you have to have gone through these tough times. I just don't know what it takes to get it done. And Shanahan is obviously not the guy right now. Go ahead, Dave.
Are you calling for Darren McCarty to be our next
Yeah,
president?
maybe. The Chris Drapers, maybe. I don't know. Chris
Draper.
The guy who took his teeth are still on the boards from a while back. I don't know. I don't have the solution as to who would replace him should Shanahan not stick around. I mean, we can definitely move past it, but
yeah,
that is a great example of something that has to change if it's not something that's on the ice.
So sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna transition to, if we're starting at the top, then maybe we gotta start working a couple levels down.
I'll give you this then before we trickle down. Then just on that role, like, do you need to fill it if you're losing with Shanahan? Like, what do you have to have a team president? Like, can you just not
give it to Brad?
Not have. You don't have to have the title. You can just go.
How many teams,
and coach.
How many teams in the league right now don't have a president? And also, who are they and where are they in relation to, like, the standings? And maybe that's an exercise we can have.
It's worth looking into. Yeah, like, I'll tell you this. Like, who is the team president in Dallas? I couldn't tell you. I only know Jim Nill. He does a very good job. Carolina is just Tulsky right now. It was just Waddell before that. Loved what he did as well. Florida, head honcho is Bill Zito, right? Like,
yeah.
There's three examples that are still in the playoffs, right there. And then I would say, if you are going to fill that position, talked about Brendan Shanahan coming from the Department of Player Safety. I don't think he had kind of meant what you're saying, or like where I think the new age kind of hockey players do. They go through the ranks from the bottom up. They go through the trenches in management because they did it as players. Look at like an Alex Steen, like cutting his trade with the St. Louis Blues, GM in the wings before he gets a chance. Wasn't really just given the position like that. So maybe if you are bringing someone in, it's someone who's kind of climbed the ranks. Danny Briere is an example of a guy who did that, right? He did that in QMJHL with the Ramparts. Then was an assistant GM in Philly, waited out Chuck Fletcher, got his chance. And you guys know I love Danny Briere as a player and also so far as an exec.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a type of guy you look for if you even have to go the former player route. Like, I think I'd even be open to a less familiar name, honestly, or just right now I would say I am team president. That's where I'm at personally.
Yeah, that's fair.